Greetings, everyone. My name is Professor Matt, and today I'm here to share with you the magical formula to winning a Super Bowl. In other words, why your NFL team will or will not win the Super Bowl this year. I'd like to make some important disclaimers before continuing on. I'm just one NFL fan who is doing this on his spare time. Obviously, this is very bare boned, and the reason I'm doing this is because A, the formula actually works, and B, people will have. I don't want someone to steal credit for something which I've been talking about the last few years. So before I go on, I should give you some tidbits on what the magical formula does and does not describe. Number one, the magical formula describes the bare minimum needed to win the Super Bowl. Two, the magical formula does not guarantee that your team will win the Super Bowl, as your NFL team can still meet the bare minimum requirements and still not win the Super Bowl. However, if your NFL team doesn't meet the magical formula requirements, history has demonstrated that your team just isn't winning the Super Bowl. So now on to it. What's the magical formula? Over the last 40 plus years, each NFL team that has won the Super Bowl has either contained three Hall of Fame worthy players or a combination of six All Pro and Pro Bowl players. When I say Hall of Fame worthy players, I'm referring to current NFL players on the last few Super Bowl teams that will eventually become eligible once their career ends. For instance, the list of Hall of Fame worthy players from the Tampa Bay Bucks, LA Rams, and last year's Super Bowl 2023 champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, include Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, Matthew Stafford, Taylor Swift's BF, and Mojado Commercial Dude. And obviously, when I say if we look back beyond like 10 or 15 years ago, you'll see on every of those teams, they actually have three Hall of Fame players on it. Or speaking of the combined All Pro and Pro Bowl players, for the six All Pro or Pro Bowl combination of players on each Super Bowl team, players had to be selected to either the All Pro or Pro Bowl teams within the following 3 year span: the year before winning the Super Bowl, the year when they won the Super Bowl, or the year after winning the Super Bowl. It's important to use this 3 year span. It allows for variance from year to year. There are different factors involved, as you know, especially with the Pro Bowl. So it helps keep that variance at a minimum. Furthermore, as for including player selection the year after winning the Super Bowl, many NFL fans and NFL players may not realize how good those players were until watching those players win the Super Bowl. Therefore, many NFL fans and NFL players will vote for those players onto the All Pro or Pro Bowl teams the following year. Other things important to note. Number one, remember only one of the two criteria need to be met. Therefore, if an NFL team had a combination of six different All Pro and Pro Bowl players, then the debate over whether a particular player on an NFL team is Hall of Fame worthy to be the third person included on that list becomes moot. Number two, the list of players on the following tables and for the teams is definitely not complete. If you want to fill out the tables, go ahead, but please remember to credit me, Professor Matt, as the originator. Now on to the tables. If we look back at the 2023 Kansas City Chiefs, obviously they have at least seven players, and I think they do have more within that 3 year window. And I selected three Hall of Fame worthy players on the side: Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones. Remember, again, you can have a choice of a combination of six Pro Bowl or All Pro players, or you can have the three Hall of Fame worthy. You don't need to have both. And 2022 Rams, you can just jump to the Hall of Fame worthy because that you had Matthew Stafford, you have Aaron Donald, and Cooper Kupp. You have obviously some other players there too, but I believe those three would satisfy that requirement. Now looking back at 2021 Tampa Bucks, You can go. You can look at Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, and pick anyone that's someone on the defense. Otherwise, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They probably have more than 9 actually between All Pro and Pro Bowl that year. Maybe they had 9. It doesn't matter. It's clearly greater than 6. Now, if we look back at the 2020 Kansas City Chiefs, let's just go with the 3 Hall of Fame worthy players: Mahomes, Kelsey, and Tyreek Hill. 2019, you can go back to, again, Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, noticing a pattern here, and Stephen Gilmore. And if you go back to the 2018 Philadelphia Eagles, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 7, and I believe they actually have more players on that list. Obviously, I felt dirty about including Carson Wentz, although technically it does fit the formula. So I made sure to go back and look at 2019. The following year, where Jason Kelsey was selected. And he's clearly not only a Pro Bowl player, he's definitely a Hall of Fame, and you can just work out all the other things as well. And just keep going on and on if you want. Like I said, this is just a one-person podcast, and I just know. So if you want to do it, more power to you. Prove me wrong. If you find something back there, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. But every time I've just randomly checked different teams in the last 30, 40 years, basically it always fits that formula. So now the last caveat or last thing I want to talk about is how to apply the magical formula to the 2024 NFL playoffs to determine which team will actually win the Super Bowl. Obviously, because none of those players are actually in the Hall of Fame as they're all currently playing, there might be some debate on if the 3 Hall of Fame worthy players criteria worthy players actually is there. Obviously, the best answer is just to wait 10 years, 15 years after they get their chances of being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and you can just look back and you can tell for sure that there were at least 3 Hall of Fame players on that team if you're using that criteria. And also, second point, I did a quick analysis of the teams either meeting the 3 Hall of Fame worthy players or the 6 combined All Pro and Pro Bowl players. Like I said, this list is not absolute. You guys can go, teams can go look it up for your respective team. But basically, obviously, you have the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson, Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith. You have the San Francisco 49ers with CMC, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Chase Young, Brock Purdy, etc. And just because I didn't list your team doesn't mean that they're not going to win it. I haven't looked into like the rest of the teams. Honestly, like I said, the formula, I'm confident it works, and it will prove me right in about 1 month or so after whichever team wins the Super Bowl. I can just go back here, maybe give an updated video or a new video with an update saying that, you know what, my magical formula, it works. So thank you all for taking the time to listen to this on my very first podcast. If you like the podcast, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and tell your friends about this. Definitely try and increase the audience. I'm going to be trying to do some cool math things um, and relating it to the NFL, football, sports, and so forth. And finally, remember, I'm going to end all my podcasts with math don't lie.